to Liberty Lifestyle. Today we are adventuring into the world of pottery, specifically Raku. So for those of you who don't know, Raku is a low-fired ceramic that was first produced in the 16th century in Kyoto. It contrasted with the works of the day that were Chinese inspired because during that time they had a lot of colorful stuff that was kind of trendy, but Raku was very monochrome, so it was very stark contrast and very decorative. I'll let our potters explain more and show you some of the process and explain how to get those unique Raku finishes.
So when you fire a glaze, Raku firing, the glaze has to get up to a certain temperature to develop. And usually that's around 1800 to 1850 degrees. When you Raku with horsehair, there is no glaze on the piece, and then you only need to bring your temperature up to about 1600 degrees because there is no glaze for development.
So when you put the stuff in the kiln, and then you take it out of the kiln, and then what do you do?
And then you apply the horsehair to get your black marks like this.
Ooh,
right?
That's cool.
Or if you have applied glaze to it, you take it out of the kiln, you put it into one of the buckets that we have out there, and that bucket's going to be lined with a combustible material. Could be newspaper, it can be pine needles or sawdust or anything you have that's combustible. And then you put it in, it will flame up, and you let it flame for just a few moments, and then you put the lid on, and that creates a reduction chamber. What that does is that because you've now taken all the oxygen away, it sucks all of the oxygen out of the piece of pottery and actually causes the glaze to develop. And that's where you can come up with something like this. So what we do to plan for what we can get into the next load is we go ahead and we set out a kiln shelf so that we know our size and what will fit on there, etc. So what we've done is we've set out our template, if you will, and then we've started putting pieces on, and now that we figured out how to arrange them to get the most on there, and the nice thing, because there's no glaze on any of these, they can touch all they want to, won't hurt anything, whereas the pieces that have glaze on them, not so good to have them touching. So now we know what shape we're going to put these on, or position I should say is better adjective. Then what we can do is we'll start taking them over to the kiln, and we'll go ahead and start loading the next load. Perfect. Okay. A little bit of a thermal shock there again, like we were talking about. So the Raku clay can withstand that, because we just went from a 75, 80 degree environment, and that kiln is sitting at 1400 degrees, and we'll let her get back up to 1600 degrees. Since again we're just doing the horsehair, that's all the higher the temperature needs to be. I'll be the opener since the initial pieces are Tina's, and so I'll open, and then she'll grab what piece she wants. She'll take it over to the tailgate or our Rakuing station, and I'll close the lid back down to preserve the heat that's in here. So the kiln is still on, and we leave it on the entire time until we've reached our last piece. So here we go. think about when you're designing a piece is how are you going to pick it up? And so having this nice lip allowed us to grab underneath, okay? But if you have something that's too flat or is too round, it's really hard to pick it up. So you always want to think about that. Features of doing horsehair raku pottery is that it is strictly decorative. It is not functional at all, in that you cannot put any type of liquid or anything of that nature in these vessels. There's two reasons for that. One of them, the primary reason, is that raku clay and the raku firing is very open. It is not what they call vitrified. It doesn't close off completely. It stays partially open, so therefore the water or any other liquids can seep through it, and it'll end up all over your dining room table or wherever you have it. So if you do have a vase that you have horsehair raku'd, what you can do is you can use one of those plastic vase liners, and then it can be a functional vase in that sense. But without the liner, you cannot do that. They are developing glazes that you can use, that are raku glazes that do make the vessel watertight. However, your standard raku glaze does not allow for complete patency. You're going to have some type of liquid flow through. Our venting hole, and this allows excess heat to come out because you can't just contain all the heat in. You got to have that airflow. When you're doing a raku firing this way, you want it to be an oxidation, not reduction. Reduction will happen once we put these pieces into the cans where we take away all the oxygen. But right now we want this oxygen, so we're in oxidation mode, And so if you look down, and you probably don't want to do this with your phone.
No.
But what I'm doing is I'm looking down and I'm looking at the pieces right now. And I can see, besides the fact that it's hot as Hades, I can see that there's these little glaze bubbles all over. I can also see it's also the glaze has gotten shiny. That tells me that that glaze has developed. So there's a piece over here that's sitting down on the kiln shelf. There's a piece over here that's sitting up a little bit higher. It's two different bowls. These are both Tina's pieces. And then there are some turtle shellbacks that I have strategically positioned. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to look at down this way at the center bowl. And I can see it also looks nice and shiny. And then I'm going to put my back to you for a second. Because I'm looking down and there is a turtleback right down there. And he's pretty shiny. He's not quite as shiny as the others, but he is a different type of glaze also. So hopefully the pyrometer is working okay. I have suspect that my pyrometer might be going to funk. And a pyrometer will read off in either Celsius or in Fahrenheit. And when it does, it's got a thermocoupler. And you push this in, and it's going to basically measure the temperature inside the kiln. And you'll see it'll just kind of rapidly rise. And we just want to see where our temperature is. But we think we're going to probably go ahead and pull it and see what we come up with. We're going to take the pyrometer out, set it down, turn the power off on it. On 3, 1, 2, 3, up, 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 up. Not faster than this. Come on over, set it down, we're well clear. Okay. Okay, we are not to temperature on that. Okay, but we are on this. Leave your bowls. That guy did not come to temperature. Yes, you didn't. Yeah. He's so tiny. So now what we're going to do is we're going to create what's called a reduction chamber. We put the lid on. All of that flame is eating up all the oxygen that's in there. And what it's going to do is it's going to suck every bit of oxygen out of the piece that's in there. That'll help develop the glazes also. We're going to leave it in there for about 20, 30 minutes, and then we'll take it out. So after it's probably been now, I guess probably what, 45, 50 minutes at least. And you can leave it as little as 20 minutes or, until it completely cools down. And then you go ahead and you open it up and ooh! So, and you can see that all the combustible material has burned. Okay, so that's a good sign. And I do believe that we had some nice copper come out on that too. So, so we did have a good glaze development actually on this particular piece. Ironically enough, in that same firing, we had other pieces that did not come to maturity. So we're going to have to refire those. So, but this, what we can do is we can clean off all these little black edges. This is going to be a turtle. So if you can imagine it, this is its tail. It'll have a little tail, a couple of legs here and here, a couple legs here, and a little head sticking out. So it'll be a little turtle back. And then there's a second piece in here. If I can get it with my hand. And it too, it's a different glaze than this one in my right hand. And you can see that it started to copper out here. So that tells me that we got a good reduction chamber, because what that did was that pulled all that oxygen out and allowed that copper to start developing. So that's what you do, and you find out that the backs, see, they get all black because, again, that is the carbon burn that happens when you put them into a reduction chamber like this. And somewhat like the horsehair raku, the carbon burn from anything that you touch it with. So there you have it.
It was definitely cool to hear about all the chemical aspects of the process and how each small element, like temperature and timing and all of those small things, are really crucial to getting that finished product. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned something. Don't forget to appreciate the good things in life, and I'll see you next time.